It's a masterpiece.
So I just queued up this video that you sent my way called the most beautiful game ever made, and I think it
Mm,
would be a good place to kind of start as far as like talking about what makes this game so special.
sure.
Tell me about the graphics here.
Yeah, we'll start with visuals. So, Blue Point Games, I'm sure most of us listening are probably familiar with Blue Point. They are the masters or the gods that I refer them to behind the Metal Gear Solid HD collection,
Mm,
the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, Shadow of the Colossus remake, quite a few titles. I know they dabbled with, what was the other one? They also did a Shadow of the Colossus PS3 remaster.
mm,
And of course, they did the Demon Souls PS5 remaster or
okay.
remake. So that's their specialty. They did a bang up job with this. And it shows, man. This game, apparently, if you run it on a Pro, it
Hmm.
runs at 4K 60.
Ooh.
I want to say there's a different mode as well, like it incorporates HDR as well. Um, I played on my 1080p 55, 120 hertz, and it just looked unbelievable.
Hmm.
At times, I really thought it was just like real. There are some really photogenic sort of areas that really look like you're looking at a live video of something. So extremely impressed. I find it hard to believe that this game came out in 2005 or 6. No, it was 2005 in North America, October 18th to be exact.
Hmm.
And to think that a game that old got remade and looks just as good as like next gen games or like those late PS4 games is pretty incredible to me.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just watching the clips here, you know, the shadow, no pun on the name there, but like the shadows and light in this game are jaw dropping.
Yeah, it's a stunning game, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that they put so much attention on what the landscape was going to look like,
Hmm.
and a lot of it's just mountains and deserts and tall grass blowing in the wind, more mountainscapes and cliffs and waterfalls and fairly simple stuff that you would see in nature,
Hmm.
but just executed extremely well. And I think most people would agree that have played the game, the sense of scope is tremendous. Like
Hmm.
the world that you're in is just so incredibly large that when you're running, even on foot or walking or on aggro, your horse galloping across the landscape, you feel like it's going to take like an hour to get
Really?
from one area to another. And I don't feel that really in a lot of other games. Skyrim, a little bit, because Skyrim has a nice sense of scope. But I think that Shadow of the Colossus has the best scope I think I've ever seen in a game. It's
Mm.
absolutely massive. And everything in the world is massive too. The bridges, the architecture, the buildings are all on this giant scale. So I think it makes you, Wander, the protagonist, feel that much smaller
Mm.
as you're kind of roaming around.
Tell me a little bit about the story of this game. Like, what is happening?
So it's pretty vague. This game is vague in a lot of ways when it kind of sort of presents its story. So you play as Wander, who is a young man who has a horse named Agro, and he basically, in the first initial cutscene, he kind of strolls along some cliffs and eventually makes his way into this sort of not unforbidden, this forbidden land, where he basically has this girl with him whose name is Mono,
Hmm.
and she was sacrificed in a way. So she's sort of dead, but not. And his goal is to restore the life of her somehow.
Okay.
So he's tasked with basically slaying 16 colossi, these giant beasts that apparently live and roam in this forbidden land. And you sort of start out in this sort of chapel of sorts, and there's a voice or like some sort of god above you that kind of tasks you with finding these colossi and kind of drops these hints as to where they are.
Hmm.
And that's really it.
Mm.
After that takes place, you're just kind of standing there and you're like, all right, so I guess I'm trying to save this girl who I sort of hardly know.
Hmm.
And I've got this horse and I've got this voice that's telling me where to go. And I've got my sword, I've got my bow and arrow. And in the chapel too, there's actually statues of the colossi on each side. And if you don't look carefully, you might not notice them because generally you just go outside of the chapel and you go on your way to find one. But if you turn around and explore a little bit, you'll see that there's a statue of each one. And after you kill each colossi, the statue will crumble, and then you go to your next one and then rinse and repeat. Each statue will crumble after you beat each colossi.
Huh. So we have a guess in the Twitch chat coming from Vortex. He says, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy meets horse, boy forgets about girl. The end.
Yeah, sort of. Spewing crap, never played the game. But yeah, no, you're relatively close, Vic. It's just such a simple plot. And I think that's what makes the game so good, is that it's not complicated. And I spoke about this on the show before, as well as in my review that I wrote for the website recently. Please check that out. It's pretty comprehensive, at least I thought it was. And that's what made the game special to me, is that it's a simple task. You're riding around in this beautiful land, and you're taking down these colossi, and everything about it just seems right, I guess. I mean, there are definitely moments where you sort of question, like, why am I slaying these majestic-looking beasts? Because some of them are really majestic-looking. Like, you feel bad about killing one of them. And when you kill them, it's done in kind of a, I wouldn't say really a gruesome way, but it's pretty punishing. Like, you're stabbing the shit out of them with your sword, like literally repeatedly. Like, not like a sort of psycho kind of motion with a knife, but you're plunging your sword after charging it into their weak spots, and they generally have about 2 or 3 weak spots on each colossi.